This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
What's up, Detroit sports fans? Welcome back to the Fan Reporter Show, made by fans, for fans, powered by the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. I'm Nick, and my boy Andrew over here is sitting right across from me. He's going to give you this week's topics.
Now that the Lions are reportedly done signing free agents, we take a look at the biggest team needs heading into the draft. Also, I'll post 3 burning questions to Nick revolving around where the Pistons stand today. Let's get into it.
All right, so you got it right there, Andrew. Let's start off with the Lions talk today. Just because I feel like we can dwell a little bit more on the Pistons topics, and you know, I'm kind of interested to hear these 3 burning questions because I know you've seen them. Now, was this from an article you found?
Yes, this is courtesy of Detroit Bad Boys. Detroit Bad Boys, they published an article today, and it was from Christopher Daniels, and basically he posed 3 questions to. Well, looks at the staff and the writing staff, and they all kind of pitched in their answers.
Okay.
To these 3 questions. So I'm kind of curious to hear what your answers would be
okay.
to these 3 questions.
I'm definitely curious to hear what those are, and I'm ready to kind of fire up some answers. You know what I'm saying? But first, let's get into some Lions talk here.
Yep.
A report was kind of floating around today that was talking about how the Lions are most likely done spending big money in free agency. I know they have Dontrell Inman coming in, I believe, tomorrow for a visit with the team, and we obviously had Malcolm Brown come in last week. We signed him to an offer sheet. The Rams matched and kept him. He was a restricted free agent.
Yep.
We've had Spencer Ware come in. We've had a number of guys come in along with signing a couple of corners as well. But it sounds, based on the reports, that the Lions are pretty much done with their free agent spending as we see it right now. So, you know, with the haul that we've gotten this offseason, with the Trey Flowers signing, with the Jesse James signing, Julian Edelman, Justin Coleman, you know, insert a few other names here because I know there's been a few other ones as well. Yeah. I know we signed a couple other corners, and I want to say we even signed another receiver too or something like that. I don't remember. But with the haul that the Lions have brought in free agency this offseason, I guess I have a 2-part question here. One, yes. Are you encouraged by what you saw with the Lions offseason? And I'll let you answer that before I get into the second part. So go ahead.
I like how well they targeted their team needs this year. I mean, our biggest team needs were cornerback, defensive end, tight end. They hit them early and they hit them hard. Problem is, like, guys like Jesse James, we need a pass catching tight end. He's more of a blocking tight end.
I mean, he's useful in the pass. He's a useful passing tight end. Now,
and then you have your questions where we overpaid for guys like Trey Flowers and Justin Coleman, but they were aggressive, which Edelman, but they were aggressive, which that I like. What about you?
Well, you mentioned Jesse James being a more of a blocking tight end. Yes, you're right. However, he's useful in the past, and the way the Lions use their tight ends, or lack thereof, for that matter, it fits a little bit better. They're a team that, you know, loves having an extra body in there along the line to run the football, as well as having the ability to hit a guy in the red zone at the tight end spot or get a key first down. But that's primarily the usage that Matthew Stafford puts into the tight ends. He doesn't utilize tight ends as much as some of the other quarterbacks in the league do. So it doesn't surprise me that that's the name that they were going for. I know he was connected to the Lions early on and before free agency started, so I was kind of expecting, and then it kind of went away, but I still kind of expected them to at least, you know, kick the tires on Jesse James a little bit, and it turned out to be something. Mm-hmm. But a couple of the names that they did also sign, Ode Abushi, 1-year deal worth up $2 million. He's a guard. He's probably going to be in a rotational type role to fill in that offensive line with TJ Lang retiring. Mm-hmm. Andrew Adams, a safety on a 1-year deal. Again, another rotational guy, probably going to play special teams a lot and be, you know, primarily a backup to probably either Tracy Walker or Quandre Diggs out there. They, like I mentioned, they signed the offer sheets. Malcolm Brown, Rams matched it, but then they also brought in Rashawn Melvin on a 1-year, $3.5 million deal to play corner as well. You could honestly see him and Justin Coleman kind of switching on and off, inside out quite a bit. I know both have experience both inside and outside at the opposite corner. So, you know, the Lions may have gotten their their defensive backfield set with their free agency moves. At least this core starting group.
Yeah.
They seem to be happy with Tracy Walker in the safety position. Willing to move on from Glover Quinn and comfortable with him there.
Yeah.
Justin Coleman is a guy that I can see playing both inside and out this year. And with Rashawn Melvin going in there as well, I think they'll be able to do that also.
I don't disagree there.
I guess the second, I guess, I am encouraged with what they've done in the offseason. Again, you brought up the fact that they really targeted needs. They needed a slot receiver. They needed an edge rusher. They needed a corner. They needed a tight end. They literally had 0 rostered tight ends before Jesse James was signed.
Yeah.
So with that being said, obviously, I was happy to see them fill those positions. And then from then on, we also saw them sign players for depth. And by that I mean guys like, the Ode Abushis, the Andrew Adams, the Rashawn Melvins of the world that they brought in were depth plays. This is something that Matt Patricia's really, and Bob Quinn have really wanted to instill into this team is a next man up philosophy on any given play. And Bob Quinn's been trying to do that for years, bringing in depth guys. When they brought in Romeo Okwara and Devon Kennard, they were supposed to be more of depth plays that turned out to be something. Kerry Hyder, a depth play. Granted, Hyder's gone now, but as an example. But those are guys that they've brought in to be depth players and something that can kind of spell some of the starters for a couple of plays or so, or step up in a needed situation. So I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that they're able to build some of the depth and work with that there.
But as far as the depth, though, do you trust any of the guys that we have at guard right now to step up and start at right guard?
We had a solid-ish player step up last year at the position. We had a couple of guys fall into that role and be at least okay.
Right now, Kenny Wiggins are projected starting right
Kenny
guard.
Wiggins was the guy who kind of stepped in quite a bit last year. I don't necessarily. I would tell you right now he would be the weak spot on the line. I'll tell you that. However, I think there's
got Ricky Wagner, Taylor Decker, Frank Ragnow.
I would tell you that with the guys around him, I think he would be serviceable. I do expect him to try to fill that a little bit more in the drafts. There's no question about that. Maybe spending a second or third round pick on it. Maybe a fourth, something to give a guy a shot. But I do expect Wiggins to be the day one starter in that position there. You mentioned that we overpaid for some guys. This is Detroit. We're not a free agent destination. It's the Lions organization.
Similar to what Joe Dumars did with Ben Gore and Charlie V.
Right.
He had to pay to bring him in.
Been
paying out,
in this city, we've always had to overpay for guys. Look at what we paid guys like Pudge Rodriguez and guys like Victor Martinez to bring in. And, we've always overpaid guys in this city, and there's no question about it. The only team that really doesn't have to is the Red Wings, and even they overpaid guys historically at times. So you're going there. It's expected. Do I like the fact that they gave Trey Flowers 5 years at $90 million? No, I was not overly happy about that. Do I like the player? Yes. Do I like the money attached to it? No, especially when it's $56 million guaranteed. Do I like the fact that we signed Justin Coleman to the richest contract in slot corner history? Absolutely not. However, sometimes that's the cost of doing business when you're a team playing in a Detroit market. Yeah. So you got to just understand that and roll with it. But I guess the second part of my question for you, Andrew, is with the guys that we signed, with the positions of need that we filled, where do you look at the Lions going in the draft? I'm not talking just first round. I'm talking first, second, third, fourth, beyond. 6th and 7th round are crapshoots, whatever. But where do you see the Lions going in some of the early to mid rounds in this upcoming draft? And does it give you any kind of idea what they're leaning?
Yeah. 2 spots I immediately off the bat expect are I expect edge rushing. I expect linebacker. I expect a defensive end. Those are 2 off the bat that come straight to my mind that I would expect. That even though we signed Trey Flowers, I think we still need depth there. And then
I completely agree with you there because I feel like Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia are guys that They love depth. They love, especially in the pass rush, having the ability to rotate guys in and out constantly and continue to give the defense different looks. They've got a couple of nice pieces, Trey Flowers, Romeo Okwara, but they want more. And I actually love that philosophy, especially in the pass rush. Keeping guys fresh and wearing down the offensive line through 4 quarters of football is one way that you can really create some havoc and ruin an offense's game plan and ruin their rhythm, so to speak. So I love that idea as well, but go ahead and continue.
And in, I would not be surprised to see him draft the guard. That would not surprise me at all. I would also not be surprised to see him make a depth move for in later rounds for receiver with it seems like imminent departure of Marvin Jones, either probably next year or later this offseason, or Danny Amendola. We have him for 1 year. He's up there in age.
Why did I say Edelman? I said Edelman earlier. It was Danny Amendola. Jesus.
But so behind Kenny Galladay, we're going to start looking awfully thin. So I would not. I would not be surprised if we made some high risk, high reward picks towards the middle of the draft for a receiver.
I mean, there are some guys that they have at the wide receiver spot that were lesser known guys. What was his name? The kid from training camp last year that just seemed to catch every ball thrown his way. Brandon Powell.
Yeah.
He's a guy who's going to be on this team that's looking to make some noise. There's guys that are in that spot that are going to have to step up and try to make it.
Got the man that's always in and out of the rotation, TJ Jones.
Is he even still on the team?
Yeah, I think so. Isn't
okay.
He might not be. I don't know. Let me fact check that.
No, he's not. He remains unsigned. But those are guys out there that I can see the Lions. I can see the Lions making a wide receiver play, maybe the 4th, 5th round, something later on. I can still see them going after a corner, maybe another 3rd, 4th, 5th round situation. I don't expect to see them pulling, Greedy Williams out of a hat in the first round. But I think in terms of the 1st and 2nd rounds, I think linebacker is a definite possibility. I think guard is a definite possibility, or at least interior lineman. I think running back is something the Lions may look at in this draft, considering we brought back Zach Center, but we let LeGarrette Blount go. So they're going to look for someone who can fill into that, spot role that Blount played last year. It has a higher volume than a spot role, but someone who can give Kerryon Johnson a spell. Well, Malcolm Brown was probably supposed to be, but we didn't get him. In linebacker especially, again, corner, maybe even a safety. There's positions out there, but definitely, in my opinion, I still, in the first round, look at edge rush. There's a lot of talent at the top end of this draft in edge rushing, and I think it's something that can really help this team, both in depth as well as in top-end talent to be able to rush the passer. But I'd be very curious. I'd be very happy to see them stick with defense in the first round, go linebacker, go edge rusher, and pick up something there.
Now, with names like Jonah Williams out of Alabama and Cody Ford out of Oklahoma expected to be available when we pick, would you be entirely opposed to Lions taking a guard in the first round?
Jonah Williams, no, although he's more of an outside lineman than anything. He can play inside, but he's known for his left tackle play at Alabama. I mean, the guy's an absolute mauler. I love his play. I love his tape.
Both these guys, both Williams and Ford, are guys who can play either side of the line.
Yes, Ford I think would be a reach at 8. I haven't really seen him mocked. I haven't seen him mocked that high.
He's usually
at all
towards the middle of the first. Usually.
Yeah, the 15 to 25 range is where I've seen him quite a bit.
But at the same time, scouts are viewing him now as the best pass blocking lineman.
Well, the right guard, you'd want him to be more of a run blocker because that's the strong side. You run off your right side quite a bit, especially with Kerryon, who likes to run outside the tackles a little bit.
Sorry, I misspoke. I meant run blocking.
Oh, run blocking. Okay. Now, I mean, that is something you could look at. If the Lions are willing to trade back into those late teens, then I would say, yeah, they're probably going after a guy like Ford. But at number 8, I mean, Jonah Williams, I think, is a little bit of a reach. He's got that top-end talent, but that's not quite where he's projected to go. He's projected to go in the early double-digit picks. I have seen him taken that high in a few mocks, but not many. Jawan Taylor's really the only offensive lineman I've seen get taken that high.
He's a tackle. So.
And he is a tackle, yes. But, again, another mauler as well. Yeah. But, I love Jonah Williams' film. I love his mentality. I love the way he plays the position. I wouldn't be unhappy with that. I would be a little bit let down because it's another, overly safe kind of boring pick, and I'm looking for skill positions in this because the Lions.
Frank Ragnow last year, like it was a good.
No,
pick.
I thought Frank Ragnow was a perfect pick for what
boring.
the team needed last year.
It's like it was a good pick. It was just boring.
I think this year, though, with the positions of need being primarily skill positions, I would like to see them go that route. You know, an edge rusher, a skilled edge rusher, a safety. You know,
and you have a lot of good edge rushers in this first round.
You do, especially at the top end. You know, I would love to see them go that route.
Fortunate on the top 5 to get a guy like Nick Bosa or Josh Allen, but like
right. I mean, if one of those guys dropped down to them, I would literally be just throwing a party, doing the helicopter dance, and all the other people's, all the other teams' faces right in front of me. But I would still like to see them go that route and go skill positions, because those are obviously of need. I would like to see them fill at least 2 skill positions in the first 3 rounds. I don't care if it's first, second, or third round. I just want 2 skill position filled in 2 of the first 3 rounds so that we can kind of, because the one big problem that this Lions team has is there's a very much lack of skill. And I'm not saying that this can't be a good team. They have talent. But there is an obvious lack of top-end skill on this team in a lot of ways. 100%. I mean, Darius Slay's great. Matthew Stafford, he's good at times, bad at others. Kerryon Johnson looks like he's got the makeup to be very talented, very good running back. Trey Flowers has the ability. But, I mean, that's kind of where the list ends.
Yeah.
Kenny Galladay, I'll give you that one as well. But that's kind of where the list ends. We're missing top-end talent on this roster, and I'd really like to see us pick up some of that in the top, in the top end of some of these rounds here, and fill in some of those skill position needs because they got a lot of them, and that's where I want to see this team, set themselves apart from some of the rest of the teams in the NFC North. Is finding those skill guys that can really make a difference in the field for you.
Absolutely. Have anything else before we move on to the Snacks Harrison news? Do you have anything else to add?
No, that was just about it. You bring up Snacks before we even brought it up at all. But Snacks today, report came out that Snacks Harrison has approached the team himself, asking for a new, to inquire about a new contract. He
wants an extension.
He's got, I want to say, 1 or 2 years left on his current deal.
He's got 2 years left. He's making $6.75 base salary this year, and then in 2020, we're making $9 million.
Right. And he's 30 years old right now. So he's starting to get on the other side of the brick wall called the 30-year-old mark in the NFL. So with that being said, though, a lot of teams would see that number 30 and just hesitate to give an extension beyond that. But when it comes to a guy, rightfully so, yes, you're right. But with that being said, there's no question on what Snacks Harrison brings to the Detroit Lions defense. The number literally says that last year, going before the trade for Snacks, the Lions defense was 30th in stopping the run. 30th. Damn near last in the league. Third to last, to be exact. But by the end of the year, once Snacks got there, by the end of the year, they closed out as 10th in the league in stopping the run. From the time Snacks joined the roster to the end of season, so those specific weeks, the team was 3rd best in yard per carry in the league.
Yeah.
And yard per carry allowed in the league, I should say. That type of impact from one player is something that you could argue is worth allowing the guy to stay, signing an extension for him. He plays in a position that isn't a 3-down position. It's a very specialized role. He's not on the field for a bunch of snaps a game. He's there when you need him. So maybe with that, with those intangibles being there, you are willing to allow him to extend beyond 30 years old, 31 years old. I would be willing to give the guy another 2 years, sign him until he's 33, 34, and then, let him ride off to pasture, ride off into the sunset. Maybe he wants to go somewhere else. But
I mean, there's no denying that even at 30 years old right now, he's still known as the best
run stopping. Yes, he's known as the best run stopping defensive tackle in the league. Exactly. Yes, there's no question. And I'm comfortable giving him some money to stay here. I want a guy like that on my team. Unless the Lions show an ability to find a guy like this in the draft at some point, and I'm not talking spending a first-round pick on a guy like that. Unless the guy is smacking you in the face at the top end of the draft, I'm not talking doing that. I'm talking we got a guy who's already set in this position, who, based on the position, probably isn't going to cost you an arm and a leg throughout the rest of his career here. I'm okay with giving him a new contract, signing him for another 2 years beyond the 2 he's got left, and solidifying that the anchor of that defense in stopping the run at that nose tackle position with Snacks. I'm perfectly comfortable doing that. Again, as he gets older, I get a little bit more worried. Once he hits that third year, I would then draft the guy and allow him to take some more plays off, allow him to sit on the sideline a little bit more and rotate more. But I would be comfortable having Snacks Harrison in my defensive lineup for a couple of years beyond what he's gotten now. There's no question about that. And honestly, there's no doubt that he absolutely deserves a new contract as well. He's done more than what he's asked to, and he's just been an absolute stud on the defensive line for that team. So I have no issue whatsoever giving him that extension.
We had Haloti Nato until he was 33, 34.
Yeah, and he hardly played.
Yeah, I know, but he wasn't. Obviously, he was a shell of his former self. He wasn't where he was before, but when we got him at 30, he was a shell of his former self, and he still managed to be somewhat serviceable.
Oh yeah, without him in the lineup, though. I mean, without him in the lineup,
it's not
once
like we got
hurt,
Haloti at 30 and known as the best nose tackle in the league, and then saw him decline to a shell of his former self at 33. But that's a one lone time of encouragement is that at this age, Snacks is still known as the best run stopper in the league. So
absolutely,
that's my bit of encouragement.
Did you see the way that Haloti Nato retired from the league?
He did something crazy. I remember reading about this.
He climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, posted a picture of him saying thanks to the teams he played for on a flag on top of Mount Kilimanjaro. There's only a handful of people in the world who've been able to summit that mountain, and the man does it at his age and after all the injuries and size nonetheless to retire from the NFL. I mean, that's something right there. That was pretty incredible.
Did he get airlifted to the top of Mount Kilimanjaro and then did he cop out?
No, he came back down. He climbed it.
No, did we do a climb there? Or did he get airlifted?
No, he climbed it. I don't really think that they can. That's a pretty tall mountain, man. I don't think choppers meant to go up there. That's not something that they can do.
Oh man. Anyway, but yeah, so. As far as how much the extension would be worth, that's the one lone part I'm confused on. Are we talking paying him $9 million for 4 years? Are we talking?
I mean, I didn't see what the money was going to be. I didn't even talk about it. I mean, he's got to be realistic, and so do the Lions here. There's no question about that. You got to look at the facts of the matter here. Yes, he's the best run-stopping defensive lineman in the league. Yes, he's a fantastic player. Yes, he helps this defense is far better with him on the field than without, and he helps them immensely. However, you're going to be looking at a 32-year-old defensive lineman. You're going to be looking at a guy who only plays a couple of downs, a few downs a drive.
What I'm saying. Is there a number that makes you hesitant?
Anything over $11 million, yes.
That's more than he's getting paid now.
Yes. I'm comfortable giving him a little bit of a raise. That's probably what he's asking for. I'd be fine giving him 9, 10, 11 mil.
That's what I'm saying. Is he going more for job security? Is he going?
I think he's going for a little bit of both. I mean, the backloaded nature of his contract now tells me that's what he wants. Is he wants a little bit more money. I expect to see it somewhere around that $9 to $10 million figure, and I'd be comfortable giving him that. There's no question about it.
Last question: do you think the Lions do it?
Yes,
there's no report on how receptive they were to the ask, but
the Lions are known for royally screwing this type of thing up. They really are. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of don't, but at the same time, I kind of do. Is it wrong of me to say that I feel like the Lions do? They're gonna vastly overpay doing it, but if they don't, they're gonna let them walk for what should have been the perfect deal. Does that make sense? He's gonna ask for
repeat that.
If the Lions do re-sign him, it'll be for some ungodly number like 13, 14 mil a year. But if they don't re-sign him, he'll have asked for 11.
So you're saying it's gonna be a lose-lose? Is what
basically? That's I'm so.
You're saying you don't expect any good news to come out of this?
Unfortunately, no. I kind of don't. I don't really have a ton of faith in the front office and how they've structured contracts. I don't. I mean, we saw them struggle in many ways with signing certain guys and not re-signing certain guys that we should have re-signed. And I don't know. I don't have a bunch of faith in them being able to. They struggle with guys over the age of 30. They struggle to get the dollar value right.
Yeah,
they do.
Now, last question I want to ask before we move on to the Pistons here, because this is something I realized we kind of missed on the Lions talk, was as far as the tight end position is concerned, do you expect them to address that anywhere in the draft? I know neither of us wanted to draft a tight end in the first round. Obviously, we're not.
God, that would be such a Lions thing to do. That'd be such a Lions thing to do.
Would you expect them to draft more of a pass catching tight end maybe in the 4th round, 3rd round, 5th round?
If the guy that they had originally wanted in that spot is no longer available and there's a tight end that they like in that spot, yes.
So you wouldn't like him to target a tight end, you're saying?
No. Not necessarily. I think there's other positions in need. I think you can argue targeting a tight end.
You're happy going to the offseason into the season with Jesse James as your...
Well, no, they need to sign another tight end. they need to sign at least 2 more tight ends. There's no doubt about that. I wouldn't mind them bringing Levine Toilolo back, but he's going to be asking too much money. But...
Clearly, we saw Michael Roberts, right?
No, they have one roster tight end in Jesse James. That is it.
Wow.
Yes. I would be okay if they drafted a tight end in the 4th or 5th round. I would not be mad. Unless there's a guy on the board that I really like a lot better at a position that I like more, I would not be mad. No.
I would like him to be one of those.
If they drafted a tight end in the 1st round, I'd be royally pissed off.
I would like one of those Joe Fourier types. Those are the guys you can get in those rounds. Like,
that's kind of what
someone who just has size.
In terms of the body size, that's what Jesse James is. He's 6'7". He's a big dude. Like he's got athletic ability. He's young. Like that's what Jesse James can do in the red zone for you.
Yeah.
Anywhere else in the field, no.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But in the red zone, absolutely.
Anyway,
shall we move on?
Yeah, let's move on to a little bit of Pistons talk here. So, as you guys probably know, again, we record these on Mondays. So, from the past week, Pistons went 3 of 4, including a Monday loss to the Cleveland Cavaliers, as well as over the weekend losing the Blazers and the Warriors. They did get a win against the Suns, thankfully. But it was a bit of a rough week for Pistons fans in terms of results. And they dropped down to 7th seed. I think they fell a half.
They were kind of fighting with the Nets from when they lost back to back to the Nets.
They took it right back though.
They did, but then they lost it right away.
Yeah. So they put up good games. Here's the thing: they put up good games against the Warriors and against the Blazers. I'm actually not mad about those games. I'm more disappointed in the Cleveland game, to be honest with you. But even though we didn't have Blake Griffin, I'm still disappointed in that game. The way that they lost to the Blazers and the Warriors, I'm not overly encouraged by it. They get absolutely out-efforted by both teams. There's they got out. Both games just kind of ran out of gas.
They got out.
I can't say that because we had dips in both games. Our dip in the Warriors in the Blazers game came towards the end of the game.
They got destroyed on the glass in both games.
But the Warriors game is where we ran out of gas early and then had to try to pull a comeback.
But against the Blazers, they got destroyed on the glass, and we are supposedly have the best rebounder in basketball. Mm-hmm. But in that game, nobody was muted
in terms of on the glass.
Yeah. He had 11 boards, which for the average layman, that's a great game. But for Andre Drummond, that's a disappointment.
You want 15 plus, baby.
And then the rest of the team, nobody had more than 3. Mm-hmm. Nobody. Mm-hmm. And it's not like the Blazers have some big time rebounder like Hassan Whiteside or DeAndre Jordan. No, they had 2 guys get 7 boards each, and then 2 more get 6. One of them was Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard out rebounded everybody but Andre Drummond on your roster. That's disappointing. That's an effort thing. That's a desire to grab the basketball.
Yeah.
That's what's disappointing me about that game. And I'm pretty sure it was the same. It was the same deal against the Warriors as well. They didn't seem to have the level of concern to really go after. Hell, Drummond had freaking 11 boards in that game too. Steph Curry led the Warriors in rebounds. Granted, the Pistons were out rebounded by the Warriors there, and the leading rebounder for the Warriors was Steph Curry, who had 2 less than Drummond. That's an effort thing. That's the Pistons not fighting for the rebound. That's Pistons not boxing out. And if you want to tell me, rebounds don't win basketball games, I'll beg to differ. Well, that's been a known fact ever since basketball was incarnate.
Well, for me, the biggest takeaway from this week was the defense. We really struggled to defend forwards this week. C.D. Osman went off against us. Al-Farouq Aminu went off against us. Al-Farouq Aminu went off against us.
The Pistons are playing with a 2 at the 3.
Yeah, and not to mention the Warriors game.
They shot 52% from three.
Yeah, the Warriors.
That's insane.
It is the Warriors, but they absolutely torched us.
62% from the field, 52 from three.
That was coming off a night where they shot like 3 for 20 against Cleveland, or 3 for 30 against Cleveland. The Warriors did.
Dallas. Against Dallas.
It Dallas?
Yeah, it was Dallas. They got torched by Dallas on their own floor. I don't care who it is.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody should be shooting 62% from the field and 52% from three. I don't care who it is. I get it. Some people are hot. I get it. It's the Warriors, but that's like other level shit. Like that's not normal. No team should be able to allow 52% shooting from three.
Yeah.
That's you not closing out. That's you not switching.
Yeah.
That's you not, putting a hand in someone's face. And if you are, you're doing it lazily.
So I think me and you are both hammering the same point in terms of effort. You're talking about effort on the glass. I'm talking about effort on the defensive end.
I would argue both.
Yeah. Well, yeah, obviously, there's no wrong answer there. But now the Pistons moved on to 7 seed. Before I get to the burning questions, I want to know, first...
God, they allowed almost 40 points in the fourth quarter.
Do the Pistons
they scored almost 40.
Knowing the Pistons' schedule moving forward, do the Pistons make it back to the 6th seed, or are we going to see them go into the playoffs as
What's
a 7th
their schedule
seed?
moving forward? Who they got?
They got either in Denver, they got Portland, they have a back-to-back against Indiana, they got OKC.
I'm going to say no, they're in the 7th seed.
Our easier games are home against Orlando, which is a big game. It might not be that easy because we're both fighting for the same spot. And then Charlotte, Memphis, New York to close out the season.
I think they're kind of firmly planted in that 7th seed. And
especially the D'Lo's playing with the Nets right now.
Yes. I don't think they can catch the Nets at this point. Not saying that they couldn't.
Yeah, they're half a game behind.
I don't think that they're playing good enough basketball to. At least to catch them and keep it. I would be, honestly, at this point, I'd just be happy to see them hold on to that 7th seed because the way that they're playing right now,
2 weeks.
Yeah, the way that I'm seeing it right now, they're slowly losing their grip on that, let alone getting to the 6th. So I'm not liking the way that they've been playing lately. There's not there's not a ton of positives.
We're 3-6 since we won that 5-game win streak. We are 3-6.
Yeah, there's not a ton of positives right here outside of the fact that they're not turning the ball over that much. I guess they only turn the ball over 8 times against the Warriors.
3-5. I apologize.
There's not a lot of positives with this team right now. They're clearly running out of gas at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And you could argue that's partially to the faults of Dwayne Casey with the way that he's run his lineups throughout the year. However, he's had to. Who's been the big-time guy off the bench this year outside of Luke Kennard? Nobody. Outside of a 2-week stretch with Langston Galloway. I mean, there's nobody that he's been able to really kind of rely on off the bench that hasn't been Luke Kennard in the last couple of months. So he's had to overplay his starters. He's had to overplay Blake Griffin and Andre Drummond. And honestly, those guys are going to get tired. They're big bodies. A big body it's tough to move around.
So, question. Now, the Pistons are now about to close out a 5-game road swing? We've already lost 3 on the road. Our losses to Brooklyn and Miami last week were on the road. We came home and beat Toronto and Los Angeles. On the season, our road record is 14-23, while at home we're 23-13. Are we showing a bit of an extreme road vulnerability here?
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, this is true for a lot of teams in the league. There's a couple of teams that are good on the road, but I mean, I think it's Toronto's also really bad on the road. Is that what it is?
Toronto is actually 22-14 on the road.
Okay, so it's not that team that I'm thinking of. There's a team out there that's like ridiculously good at home and like absolutely god awful on the road. And it's not the Pistons, but
we have the worst road record among playoff teams, and it's not even close.
It doesn't surprise me. It honestly doesn't surprise me. Again, they're not a good road team. They I don't know if they need to upgrade their private plane or if they need to start staying in hotel suites as opposed to standard rooms or what it is. Pay the masseuse a little bit extra to give them better massage. I don't know, but they're not a good road team. They don't seem to have the same mentality, the same effort level, and the same honestly care on the road as they do at home, which is weird because they're playing in packed houses on the road. They ain't at home. So maybe they like peace and quiet. I don't know.
Maybe. They need the focus. But let's get to these burning questions. So, again, this is courtesy of Christopher Daniels of Detroit Bad Boys. So we have 3 questions concerning the current state of the Pistons. Ready for question number 1, Nick?
Of course I'm ready. I'm always ready.
Given both the Pistons' fairly certain spot in the playoffs and their wildly inconsistent play as of late.
Whoa. Pump the frickin' brakes.
What, you think they missed the playoffs?
Fairly certain they are anything but a lock from the playoffs right now.
Well, considering who's outside the playoffs.
They're anything
We
but.
can easily drop to an 8 seed.
Every single one of those teams that are around them in the seedings, 8, 9, whatever, are playing better basketball than the Pistons are right now. Pump the brakes. They are anything but a lock from the playoffs for the playoffs right now.
So moving on. And their wildly inconsistent play as of late. Remember, I didn't word this. This is from Detroit Bad.
I know. I'm just saying. They're anything but a lock.
How would you describe your current mood?
Discouraged.
Care to elaborate?
Discouraged and anxious. You know, this team is giving me anxiety right now. You know, just a mere couple of weeks ago, we were riding high on cloud 9 with this team and how great they were playing and how great everybody was playing. You know, the shooting was fantastic. The ball movement was fantastic. The effort was fantastic. The mentality and confidence were there. They seem to have lost all of that. And that's something that's given me, you know, a concerned feeling and a little bit of a discouraged feeling is because that team doesn't look like the real Detroit Pistons anymore.
Yeah.
And that's what's discouraged me is I feel like we're going to watch a team that, I hate to say it, but a fraud get into the playoffs and get swept out of the playoffs.
It might be because this whole elevated play has largely been against.
It's largely been against really bad teams, yes.
Yes, we've had good wins in there, but...
Yeah, but I'm discouraged by what I'm seeing as of late. I'm not... yes, you know, honestly, I wish they would have just tanked, all right? I wish they would have just tanked. Anybody who tells you this is a one-man draft doesn't know what they're watching. Go watch some college basketball.
Especially the amount of March Madness heroes we've seen popping up.
Go watch some college basketball. Marcus Howard looks great. Ja Morant, every bit as good as you can.
Jared Culver killing it.
Yes. RJ Barrett, Cam Reddish. I love any of those guys. You don't need the number 1 pick to come out of that draft with a great talent. However, they didn't tank, and I gotta just put a smile on my face with what we got. Okay.
So
and right now it's hard to because while yes I want them to make the playoffs now because I don't have another choice.
Yeah.
I want them to make the 6th seed. I want them to make honestly I kind of want them to make the 7th seed,
which is where we are right now.
I'd rather face
and
Toronto.
I would not be upset
of the top 4 teams. I'd rather face Toronto than any of them.
Am I discouraged by our current play? Yes. Will I be upset with the 7th seed? No.
No, it's the best seeding that they've had since 2008.
So, real quick, some answers that we have here from Detroit Bad Boys include cautiously optimistic, content.
Why would you be cautiously optimistic with the level of play? Can you elaborate?
So this is from Justin Lambert. Lambert's, I can't pronounce his last name, I'm sorry. As much as it seems that they're guaranteed to make the playoffs based on how they have played the majority of the season, I am still worried. This team is capable of beating anybody, but also capable of losing to anybody. Their hot stretch coincider with an easy part of their schedule, and their schedule to close out the season is pretty tough. They could very well revert how they play in the summer and still find themselves out of the playoff picture. So he basically said the same exact thing as you, but he said cautiously optimistic instead of discouraged.
I actually kind of disagree with a lot of what he said. How can this team beat anybody on any given night when they haven't even beaten the Bucks once? And that's in their own conference. They struggled to beat a lot of good teams right now. They've struggled to beat the Celtics. They've struggled to beat the Sixers. I mean, they're not a team that's beaten some of the upper. I mean, the only team that they've really had the number on this in their own conference has been the Raptors. I mean, everybody else is kind of taking them to school a little bit.
Split with Golden State, which isn't too bad.
Yeah, but I mean, what kind of Golden State team are you getting on any given night? Do they care? That makes the difference. Does Golden State care about winning that game? No. Well, you got a shot. Yes, then no.
They rested Steph the game before so he could play against us.
Wonderful. But
and then other answers include,
does anybody actually think the Pistons would take a single game off the Warriors in a 7-game series? Exactly.
Other answers include content, cautiously excited, good enough, and meh.
I don't see what there is with the level of play we've seen in the last couple of weeks. With this 3-5 stretch here, what's there to be excited about?
So the guy who's cautiously excited, Ryan Pravado, said he's just ready for some playoff basketball to play in the Pistons to hopefully win a couple games at least. Okay, fine.
That has nothing to do with the level of play. That has everything to do with the fact that we're going to see Pistons basketball beyond the final 10-game stretch or whatever we got left. That's all.
He's just cautiously excited about meaningful April basketball, basically.
He's excited to watch basketball in May or April, whatever it is.
Question number 2. how would you describe the importance of the Pistons' performance in and results of this year's playoffs?
You're talking about, I mean, this goes beyond just out from a basketball perspective. This is a situation where you are at a crossroads as an organization on whether or not you want to kind of keep the train chugging along or whether or not you need to tear it down. I would argue that the results in the playoffs are extremely important, not just because of that, but for so many reasons, and one of them being, should fans buy in? Should people come back to and watch this team play? They hardly sell out half the arena right now.
Yeah.
You want to bring fans you want to bring some butts into the seats? Have a good playoff performance. Give people a reason to come down there. Give people a reason to buy a ticket for the ungodly price that you put it at in that arena that's not fit for basketball and actually watch this team. Give fans a reason to be there. Getting swept out of the playoffs isn't going to do that. We saw that 2 years ago. That didn't cause anybody to want to go down there.
Yeah.
You want people to show up, do well in the playoffs. I'd argue that this is one of the most important playoff situations they've had in a long-ass time. You want to prove your legitimacy as a front office, legitimacy as an owner of a basketball franchise? This is where you do it. It's the playoffs, baby. This ain't no joke. This isn't something you take lightly. This is where you need to show people that you're a good, legitimate team.
Not to mention, if you refuse to tank now, then what you're doing right now, what you have to do right now is build momentum, because in a couple of years here, you're going to start coming into a lot of cap space. And you want to build momentum as a legitimate organization
that people want to go to. Yes. That was my next point.
Yeah.
You want to do well, so people will want to come here. That say, hey, there's no room for me in Houston. There's no room for me in Golden State. There's no room for me in LA or New York, wherever the hell you wanted to go originally. However, there's room for me in Detroit. Is that a place I can win? Honestly, I make that team better. They were halfway decent last year. I can win here. Or you get swept out of the playoffs and you go, why the hell would I want to go there? They suck. I mean, it's extremely important for them to want to, for their actual performance in playoff. Who's going to want to come to a team who gets swept out of the first round of the playoffs? Who's going to want to watch that team? It also shows, whether or not you know what the hell you're doing as an organization in terms of the personnel decisions. Was Dwayne Casey actually worth bringing in? Was it worth taking the risk of not having a GM in this organization? Was it worth bringing in Ed Stefanski? Not just that. Was it worth not tanking?
There you go. So
I tell you right now, just making the playoffs as a 7 seed isn't worth it.
Yeah, no, I agree.
You need to make some noise in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Show some legitimacy. Show some reason for us to believe that you didn't make a massive mistake and keep us in eternal NBA purgatory by not tanking.
Yep.
Give me a reason to believe in you. Give me a reason to want to watch this basketball team. I had it. Last couple of weeks, I've almost kind of lost it. I need to see some playoff performances here. I need it. As a fan, I'm starving. I need it.
Now, some of the answers include unimportant. This guy just
unimportant. What the hell is this guy listening to?
Justin Lambersty. He basically what he's saying is because of the fact that we still have to wait at least another year before we can start building around Blake Griffin due to contract situations, and based on the fact he doesn't expect much from his team in the playoffs, is why he says unimportant. But I think that's the entire reason why it is important, is because of the fact that you're getting ready to build around them in the next
That's what's freaking wrong with this organization, is nobody cares about their performances. Nobody cares about what they do. You want to... I do. I'm a fan of this team. I want to see it succeed. One way or another. If I got to tear it down and bring it back up, I want that to happen. Or if we're going to keep, chugging along with this choo-choo train we got, then I want it to succeed. I want the little engine that could to chug as far along as it can. All right? It's not unimportant.
No,
Success is not unimportant. Success is important. It's the NBA, damn it.
I agree with you. But Brady Frederickson says you can always
that
learn.
Frustrates me. You can always learn.
So he's looking for a learning experience here.
Okay, fair enough.
Ryan Bravado said...
the team's not exactly that young, so I don't know, if that's the right mentality, but okay.
Ryan Bravado said to play hard, play smart. Yeah.
They're dodging the question.
Michael Snyder says it's a stepping stone on Bale getting experience, even if it's a first-round sweep.
We had that 2 years ago. It's time to step upon that.
Last guy, what do you think Steve Hinson said?
It's important. Steve Hinson knows what the hell he's talking about.
He says it's inconsequential.
Fuck.
Which actually,
excuse my language.
Which actually confused me because of the fact that he was against the tanking and all that. That kind of confused me. It's like now I'm very confused where he stands in the Pistons. The playoffs are important. Tanking's not the move.
Does nobody care about this team? Does nobody care about this team's success? Detroit Bad Boys is a fantastic publication, a fantastic podcast. They do great work. They have great takes.
In my opinion, they're the most knowledgeable of it.
They're very knowledgeable. They're very, very good. You know what they do. They do some good work.
Yeah.
I don't understand their takes on this because they've been in a lot of ways very against the tanking mentality. So with that being said, how is the Pistons' success or lack thereof in the playoffs unimportant or inconsequential? I get it. I don't get me wrong. I don't expect them to make it out of the first round. I don't expect them to win a series or two. I don't expect them to fight for the East crown. But I want them to have a performance that people can look at and say, hey, that team deserved to be there.
Yeah.
There's a reason that team was in the playoffs. There's a reason that we can look at next season and say, this team is a playoff team day one.
I don't want us to be sitting in our draft pick and being like, we are way too far back for what this team is. I want us to be seeing our draft pick and be looking like, let's start building what we did last year.
Exactly.
Last year was good.
Blake Griffin, build upon the best season Blake Griffin has ever had.
Yeah.
Build upon the best season Andre Drummond's ever had. Build upon that.
Yep.
And part of getting there is showing a pulse in the playoffs.
Yeah.
It's honestly discouraging that people just don't care about playoff success. You wanted this. People in this city, and beat reporters especially, wanted them in the playoffs. They hated the tanking mentality. Yeah. They fought for this team to continue to fight for it and get to the playoffs. So why would that be enough for you? Why would it just be enough to say, hey, we made it, here's our participation trophy, let's go home now? That's a loser's mentality, damn it.
No, I agree.
This is a winning city. We have a winning mentality in this fucking city when it comes to sports. Excuse my language. I'm getting really angry now. We win in the city of Detroit. Whether it be hockey, basketball, baseball, not so much football, but it's okay. We have a winning mentality here. Just making the playoffs is not enough. I need more.
You gotta at least compete. At least.
I need it.
But final question. And this is my favorite one. What word or phrase would you use to paint a picture of how you see the franchise going forward from this season based on this season's management of future potential of current players, trades, cap space, or lack thereof?
Repeat. That was a long question.
It was. What word or phrase would you use to paint a picture of how you see the franchise going forward from this season based on this season, management, future potential of current players, trades, cap space, or lack thereof?
Runaway train.
Is that how you paint a picture of franchise going forward? It's a runaway train? Can you care to elaborate?
This runaway train will either cause a lot of damage in a good way and make a lot of good moves and make things happen with the management and the way that this roster's put together and go a long distance. Or this runaway train will fall off the tracks and explode. There's two ways that this direction can go. And that's it right there. This runaway train could run forever. If they do this right and they continue to build upon some of the successes they've had this year and where they don't have holes and build upon the whole, build upon what they've got, this team can do something. So do I think this team's going to win a championship anytime soon with the roster makeup as it is? No, I don't think they have championship caliber. But do I think this team can make an appearance in the Eastern Conference Finals? Yes, eventually. But if we build on it.
Based on the way that Ed Stefanski and Dwayne Casey have kind of handled things this year, are you somewhat optimistic, would you say, about the future?
I'm confused.
Confused?
Yes. Because at the deadline, they kind of half sold.
Yeah.
And then they started playing some of the best basketball I've seen this team play in a decade.
Yeah.
Like I'm confused with the direction that they're going, and that's why I feel like I can say runaway train and sit on both sides of the fence.
I'll actually call myself cautiously optimistic on this because of the fact that, one, we didn't saddle ourselves with as tempting as it seemed to be, we didn't saddle ourselves with a big contract like Mike Conley. And two,
there's still apparently a possibility of that happening.
And two, we do not this offseason, next offseason. We're going to have some money come off the books finally, and we may be able to make some moves. And I'm hoping that these guys are smart enough to make the right.
I'll
moves.
agree with you on cautiously optimistic.
Yeah. I don't want to say I'm fully optimistic because I'm not. I know the way this
absolutely not the way that this front office and this ownership works. No,
but the reason I say cautiously optimistic because the opportunity is there. It's just do we seize it or not?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think there is some opportunity there. Are we going to have a bunch of money to bring some big name in? No, but we're going to have some money in the next coming years here, and I want to see how they take advantage of it. I want to see what they do with it. Are we, is this team finally going to be able to draft for the first time in, umpteen years? I mean, we're not going to be drafting in a good spot, so your scouting department has to be even better, and that's important. Drafting in the NBA when you don't have cap space is how you keep things going. Drafting in the NBA when you're not a big-time destination is how you keep things going or build. And that's what the Pistons need to do. They're going to be drafting it around somewhere in the late teens. They need to find a guy that's going to play some meaningful minutes on this in these basketball games for this team for years to come. Yeah. Someone that's worth giving a second contract to. When's the last time we gave a second contract to a draft pick, Andrew? Oh my God, that is scary to think about. Have we given a second contract to a draft pick since like Rodney Stuckey?
KCP we didn't re-sign.
Stanley Johnson we didn't.
Did we?
No, he was still on a rookie deal.
I'm talking about Stuckey. Did we give him our contract?
I don't know. We might have traded him. When's the last time the Pistons gave a second deal to a rookie, to a guy we drafted?
Was it Tayshaun?
Oh, God.
Was it Max? Was it Jason Maxiell?
Was he here long enough?
He might have been. Oh, Drummond.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Oh. All right, so it was fairly recently. But the fact that we haven't found someone since Drummond who was a slam dunk, draft pick, that was the easiest draft pick you could have made at the time.
Yeah, I think we extended Stuckey because we had Stuckey for 7 years.
Okay, then we extended Stuckey. No, there wasn't a 7-year rookie deal. So Stuckey then. Outside of Drummond, it was Stuckey probably. That's not exactly encouraging towards your scouting department. If I was the GM of that, what the heck? If I was the GM of that organization and I saw that fact, I'd be firing everybody. I'd be cleaning house.
You'd be going Darth Vader all up in there.
Oh yeah, I'd be riding my little golf cart around, giving handing pink slips out. How long ago was that though?
Maxiell's last season with us was 2013.
Was it really?
Yeah, apparently.
Wow. Okay.
I thought it was more like 2010, 2011.
That's pretty surprising.
That's what I thought it was.
What the heck is calling me?
But it'd be Maxiell.
But that's a scary thought, man. The last.
Those are the last I could think of are Drummond, Maxiell, Stuckey, and two of those guys are not that good.
Yeah. I mean, I won't even put the vet there. I would just do the not good.
I like the energy Maxiell brought.
Yeah, where's the skill? Stuckey was a turnover monster.
Oh, those were the fun days.
No, they were not.
I call them the dark days.
They were the fun days in the sense that
Muhammad years.
They were the fun days in the sense that I could go down to the Palace, get my ticket, a couple of hot dogs, a pop or a beer for less than $20.
Oh, jeez.
Less than $30.
Oh, jeez.
Those were the good days. Now I can't even get a ticket for that price.
Yeah, remember the years he had, what was our lineup? Stuckey, Ben Gordon, with Kwame
Ben
Brown.
Gordon even on that team?
Kwame Brown.
Wasn't Corey Maggette on the team
Jason
again
Maxiell.
once at one point?
Corey Maggette was, I want to say 2012.
Was it? Okay.
Was when we got him. But
that team was just so frustrating. Has been so frustrating. And that's why it's so important. That's why, like...
Best Pistons draft pick, awesome day.
Oh God, that's why. That's why I really want to hammer home the fact of how important success is to this organization. When's the last time this organization has had playoff success?
It's been about
2008, man. Yeah. 2008. It's been 11 years. These fans are there's kids that are Pistons fans that literally have never seen playoff basketball in Detroit that was worth a damn.
Yep.
They've been alive for a whole decade. Haven't seen meaningful basketball here.
Yep. There's kids that are the age we were when we saw the Pistons win the 04 championship.
Oh my God, I feel so bad for these children.
I haven't seen Pistons basketball worth a damn.
When we were their age, we were watching championships.
Ship.
Fine, championship. Almost
Conference
two.
championships.
Yes. What are they watching? Garbage for a decade.
Anyway, that'll do it for us.
I feel bad for them.
We're gonna lift the hammer on the Pistons a little bit here.
God, what's the next generation of Piston fan gonna be if there is gonna be one?
Couldn't tell you. But
Yikes.
yeah, that'll do it for us on this episode of the podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in. And thank you guys for sticking out with us as we really dug into the Pistons today. We threw a few jabs, couple uppercuts.
There was some optimism towards it. I want them to do well. I'm not saying
we were somehow a little more optimistic than Detroit Bad Boys. Somehow
we were. I have faith that this team can actually
Which
do
doesn't usually
something
happen.
against Toronto in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I think they can win a couple of games. Do I think they can win the series? I would be very surprised. I would love it, but dude, I'd be throwing parties. But I don't think it'll happen. But I do expect them to actually make some noise, win a couple of games here. Do I expect them to win on the road? No. But again, I am slightly optimistic with this team, and I really, really, really do hope they succeed in the playoffs because it's important. But anyways, guys, thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. We will be back next week. This has been the Fan Reporters by fans.
For fans.
Thank you guys again. Don't forget to check out our live show, www.twitch.tv/thefanreport. Mondays and Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern. Hope you guys enjoy the show. We'll catch you next week. Have a good one.
Peace.